Hey there, cats and kitties. I'm the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'm discussing my thoughts on episode 7 of the anime series ClassicaLoid. This was definitely one hell of an off-the-wall episode. Motes has seemingly completely lost his mind, inhabiting the persona of Hamagon, or the Forest King, as Chaiko put it, leading Batarzewska through the woods with musket in hand to hunt out this Forest King. And I was starting to wonder if something was going wrong in the cloning sort of programming with these ClassicaLoids. Like maybe we were witnessing a breaking down of Motes at the molecular level. He was losing his mind, and this was signifying somehow he's falling to pieces, something like that. I didn't quite know what to make of it. Complete with like a giant leaf mask over his head and fur coat and everything. He looks like a creature, and it's hilarious because they kind of parody the Blair Witch Project in a way, where you have this couple who are searching around the woods. I don't know what they were doing, whether they were just hiking or whatever it was, and they're finding all these odd rock formations, and then this creature seemingly jumps out of nowhere and attacks them. They're running, and the woman grabs the camera, snot coming out of her nose, like, "Oh, Mom, Dad, I'm so sorry," like, it was like just right out of Blair Witch. And but like Sosuke, he's got Padkun, and he immediately takes a freeze frame of it because the news is covering all of this, trying to figure out what this Hamagon creature could be. And Sosuke, apparently, he's able to look at it and realize right away, oh, that's Motes. What's he doing? Kanai wants nothing to do with it. She's completely just flabbergasted. Her last nerve has effectively been broken. She's trying to get all like, close to, of course, Schubert, and like talk him into paying rent, and he changes the subject. Liz is the only one who is actually in any way compassionate toward Kanai, worried about her breaking her last nerve, trying to get her to relax, trying to get everyone to leave her alone. She's plagued by all these imaginings for the worse, of all the townspeople going on the attack like they did in the original Frankenstein film, going after the Frankenstein monster with pitchforks and torches and, holding them up inside the mansion. They wouldn't be able to get out, and, thinking she has some kind of collusion with this creature, this monster, or in fact, this guy dressing up like one. And she's just picturing all kinds of worse and worse and worse, situations occurring from this. So finally, she's had enough. She wants to go with Sosuke to find Motes in the woods and bring him back. Find out what the hell he is even doing. It seems lucrative for the townspeople because they open up sort of a festival, at the opening of the woods, and they got all these like games and everything like that, and one guy is eventually sad that he's ripping people off, because it's very much the music, once again, the emotional power of it. It's somewhat in line with what we've seen Schubert doing, in that he's made people emotional and sort of regress back to baby stage through his music in his debut episode. Very much is it a level of mourning, as we see once Kanai and Sosuke catch up with him, and even Schubert, he's decked out in a suit of armor because he wants to take down Motes once and for all. But Motes, as we find out, the emotional center of all of this is mourning. It may be misplaced, it may be specious in the end, but it's almost heart-wrenching to me, and it really affected me. Like, I got very emotional, very misty-eyed, because all he's been doing, he's been, calling out mama, mama, and all this stuff. And we see that he's become sort of the surrogate parent for this little doe, very much hearkening back to like a Bambi scenario where its mother had died, and he felt so bad for this young animal and wanted to make sure it would prosper and survive, and he was feeding it and taking care of it. And then lightning strikes. He's trying to keep everyone away from the woods to give this little animal its life, to make sure that its life would be preserved, keep people away, keep humanity away, because humanity are monstrous. They might go after and hunt this poor animal. So he creates this, creature, this monster in the woods, this Forest King, this Hamagon creature, to keep those people away, chase them away. And when the lightning strikes, when the storm front has come in, and he thinks this animal has now perished as well, this is what instigates this music, and this is what instigates everyone to feel so depressed, sharing that sensation of mourning. This music is all powerful. As we've seen in the previous episode with Bach-sama being able to wipe out all of the combined musics maybe when, music overlaps from each of the ClassicaLoids, maybe it becomes a weaker sensation. I don't know. But for it to so emotionally impact and affect so many people, even Berezovska, who is falling behind Chaiko in her hunt, she ends up finding a whole cache of mushrooms, which she's much more happy with. But even the ClassicaLoids themselves can crush under the weight of this sense of dread and mourning and sadness and being sorrowful, with the exception of the king of this show. All told, Beethoven, he feels the sensation, he's aware of what's going on, and he gets there at the last second to, sort of snap Mozart back into reality. And it's just expert that, for all the time Beethoven has been sort of in Zen mode and, like sitting up, holed up in his room and meditating and trying to come across a new realization, as Schubert puts it, and everything like that. It's really brilliant to me that he comes out at the last second and he really is the affecting change Mozart needs to be brought out of this sensation, out of this mourning. And then we find, much, much to my delight, I was beginning to wonder and suspect, could there be something along the lines of the music reanimating this poor animal? How sad it was that this poor animal lost its life when Mozart, all he wanted to do was preserve it, was save it, and make sure it had a life to live. And then after the music has gone away, we see that little ear flittering around, we see him getting up on his feet, and Mozart is so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so relieved. And hilariously, the little doe runs toward him, and he thinks he's going to, hug the animal, but it ends up jumping over his head, clocking him in the face with his hooves, and takes off running. And Kanai's like, oh, he's probably just going through a phase, his rebellious phase. But, I mean, it was so freaking adorable. It was very much befuddling and mystifying all throughout, up until you get to that turning point where you realize why he's done this. He's done this for this poor animal whom he just wanted to give its life back, and like how moving that is. I don't know if the actual Mozart was an animal lover in his life or not. That would be something I'd have to, go back and read up on. But it was really heartening. It was really touching that he would go to such lengths to create this Hamagon beast to chase people away, to keep it safe. And, of course, in the end, Beethoven, he's there to smack him back into reality, but not for very long, because all of a sudden there's this new creature riding around on a dolphin. Okay, well, it wasn't quite exactly the monsters and aliens from space or another dimension that we seem to be hinted at in the PV from the last episode, referencing this one, but it was brilliant. It had a little bit of everything. It had, like I say, this mystifying element of what the hell is going on. It had the absurdity and the hilarity of Schubert's jealousness and willing to try to kill Mozart with suit of armor and all. The masterfulness of Beethoven, the compassion and seeming borderline madness of Mozart himself, and bringing it all told back together again, all these loose strings and strands, bringing it all back together again by the end with this heartening hilarity. This is why I love this series. I loved this episode. Love the OP, as always, a couple of times before the episode proper. Got to play it at least twice, because it's just all kinds of awesome. And I even was kind of impressed a little bit and somewhat shocked by the dubstep sort of version of his Requiem toward the end, for the end credits. I like how the end credits always sort of embody the music that was pinpointed in the episode, but then the credits themselves, the imagery and everything, the art, always has some kind of tweaking that happens, to go alongside it, to coincide with it. But, yeah, so otherwise, I can't wait to see the next. Can't wait to see how this story unfolds. And otherwise, it'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.